welcome to another week of Small Business Evolution. I am Nontobeko Kumete. Now, we are exploring eDeed, a blockchain-based property evaluation tool helping homeowners from underserved communities unlock the true value of their properties. Joining me in this conversation is economic activist and co-founder of eDeed, Gigi Alcock. Gigi, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you are known for the economics type of person. You are the guy that really brings in the true value of the township markets. But now you branched into eDeed. Can you just share what it is all about and how does it connect into bringing out that true property evaluation of a home?
Great. So I think in my work in economics and in my writings around economics has really been about revealing these invisible economies and these informal economies. And the same applies to property. What we have is that we have a huge amount of properties in rural areas and townships which have no title deed, and yet which people have invested substantial amounts of money to upgrade, improve, extend, and so on. And up till now, there is no way to actually evaluate the value of those properties, despite the fact that people have invested huge amounts of money in there. If you look at a place like Umlazi as an example, using our tech, we've been able to say that the value of properties in Umlazi is around about 30 billion rand 10 or 12 years ago. Today, there's almost 35 billion rands worth of property, and people have obviously invested in that. So what we're basically doing with eDeed is created a tool that property owners can actually utilize to get an objective value of their property that they can then utilize to raise funds and various other things.
It seems like the township market is always left on the side, especially when it comes to digital transformation. Why is it so? Why has it taken so long for not only fintech startups like yourself, but bigger organizations to see that there's a problem here?
So I think that the predominant kind of feeling is that there isn't an economy, or it's a very small economy, which is not true, and hence my economics work showing that it's probably R1 trillion rand a year sector, from everything from spaza shops to Gorda outlets, fast food outlets, and so on. But the same applies for property. The prevailing view is that most properties in townships and rural areas are actually shacks or little four-room homes. And while that might have been true 20 or 30 years ago, the vast proportion of these properties have been completely transformed, and there's massive investments going. There's probably 2 to 3 trillion rands worth of unfinanced properties in rural areas and townships. And banks are behind the kind of curve in terms of recognizing the value of these properties. The opposite side of that is that it's very difficult to evaluate those properties if you're a formal institution. So what we've done is, using Google Earth and using AI and blockchain, we in essence are able to evaluate the value of a property just in building materials only. And we can do it historically. We can say, 10 years ago, this was the value of the property in building materials, the extensions and additions they've done, here is the value of that property today. What we then do is that the homeowner is able to register onto our eDeed platform. They're able to go on there and confirm their identity and all sorts of FICA processes, and then for 300 Rand basically get an evaluation in blockchain, a blockchain certificate, enabled certificate, that then confirms the value of their property. So let's say someone in a township, and we know there's a huge turnover of properties in townships. Let's say someone in a township wants to sell their four-room home that they've now extended. Currently, there's kind of a negotiation, but there's no real sense of what is the value of that property. Now, Mrs. Lamini, for argument's sake, who wants to sell the four-room that was left to her, she can go and she can get this valuation. She can work out that the value of this property is, say, 1.5 million rand, and then she's got a strong position to negotiate. Equally, if someone wants to release the value in that property by raising funds from a bank, or even wanting to insure their property, currently there's no kind of valuation for insurance of the value of the property. And now, an insurer can say, well, here's the valuation of the property, we'll insure it for X value. A bank can use that as collateral based on the understanding of the value that's been invested in that property and other forms of benefit. And then it really becomes kind of liberating in terms of people being able to access the value they've invested over the years. People have been lay-buying homes, materials to build homes. They use money from Stokvel and things like that. Now suddenly, all of that value they've put in over the years, they're able to realize it.
That is very interesting, and I'd like to correct myself there. I think I said fintech startup, but you are more of a tech solution company. And just with regards to the recent rollout of South Africa's electronic deeds registration system, how will it affect companies like yourself, like eDeed?
So the problem I think it's a fantastic thing, this electronic, and anything that makes it easier to register property and get title deeds, wonderful. The problem is that there are fundamental issues that restrict a large portion of rural and township areas from getting title deeds. So we're looking at, in essence, or the large part of our audience is those people who aren't able to have a title deed. Maybe they're on tribal trust land, like the Ngonyama Trust. They're not going to get a title deed. They might have permission to stay there. They might be in a former homeland, like what used to be Bophuthatswana, and again, there's no title deed. Or they might be in a township where there are no title deeds. And so we are actually targeting the people who are unable to benefit from that electronic title registration and title deed process. Not saying that those people won't benefit. Someone who wants to use this tool can, but the primary audience we're wanting to help are the audience that do not have this title deed, are not able to realize the value of their properties and are not able to currently evaluate it. And that's a huge part, and it's a big problem we have, is that there are so many properties that are not title deed. And what do we do with them? We can't just ignore them and say, well, you don't have a title deed, and so therefore we can't extend you a home loan, we can't insure your property for the appropriate value, and so on. We're opening up the space for those properties, and that's where the real need lies.
Basically, there's always a gap in the market.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us, Gigi.
Thank you.
That was Gigi Alcock, co-founder of eDeed, sharing his insights on how township homeowners can unlock the true value of their properties using tech solutions.